Hey everybody, Shaman here. So a couple videos ago I mentioned that I had some exercises I developed to help people grow in their shamanic journey, in their psychic, just personally, spiritually and personally. And I said that I'd go ahead and do a videos on that if anybody interested. And of course somebody said, yeah, do it. So here I am. So the first part of this is developing your own divination system. A divination system is like tarot cards, rune stones, scrying, just about anything that helps somebody see in past the dimensions or whatever new age cliche that you want to use. What it really is, it's a medium, okay, set in front of you that you can look at on the physical plane that helps you make that merge, and it's like a liaison between the right side of your brain and the left brain, okay? The left brain, part of your brain, has speech, mathematics, logic, sequencing, time, and so on. The right side of your brain doesn't. That's your artistic side. It's just one long moment. It's just like the whole life. It doesn't have language, no math, no sequencing. And that's why when you're really in the right side of your brain and you're doing your artwork, time just flies. You're just like, wow, I've been working on this for 5 hours and it felt like 10 minutes. And that's why, a really cool book to explore that with is called Drawing on the Right Side of Your Brain. It's one of the coolest, cheapest, awesome shamanic journeys you can have in your own personal development, and check it out. It's got a lot of cool exercises in there that I still do today. So, but your right side of your brain is like also your psychic side, your intuitive side. It's the one that knows everything all at once. So you might have the right side of your brain seeing something and wanting to tell you something, so it's knocking on the door or the wall that separates the right side and the left brain. It's going, ah! And your left brain's like, what are you talking about? What are you all tense for? And it's like, oh, the mountain we live on is going to explode, but I can't tell you this because I don't have language, And so the person might go, okay, I think I'll do a reading on this. And they do a reading on it and like, whoa, okay, this is strange. Maybe I should take a trip someplace, and then they take a trip and the mountain blows up. I mean, it's all kinds of interesting things that have come from that. So some people are really good at reading tarot decks. Some people prefer the rune stones. Some people like scrying. Scrying is like looking into a dark pool of water. Some people say, well, it's like making a campfire and then watching the smoke, and they get their visions from that. It's really not the power. It's just like I said, it's a medium. It's a liaison between the right side of the brain and left side of the brain. That's pretty much it. So years and years and years ago, I guess in my early mid-teens, I started experimenting with just doing my own system, because the lineage that I come from and my shamanism, it really stresses for people to be unique. And this is so important. There's some basic laws. Just like if you're going to be a scientist or a chemical engineer or something, there's just some basic things that you have to understand about the functionality of the chemical world or physics in general. And then you can add on to that your way and make your mark on the world. Well, the same thing with real shamanism. It's about, here's some basic fundamentals, but really getting into deprogramming the person, getting them into their truth, and then helping them to develop their system. And it's a better service for the community in general, because people are unique. I mean, just when I think I've seen and heard it all in personal appointments, I'll get surprised, And this is really the beauty of my work. I love it. So so my first divination set was just primary colors, hot colors and cold colors. And then of course, when you combine some, and made another one. Combine, with blue and yellow, and you get green. Well, what's the emotion of blue? What's the emotion of yellow? And what's the emotion of green? And that's how I started my early teens. Well, then I guess I was early 30s. By then I had a system of stones and pieces of wood, branches that I had cut with symbols on that I made in Northern Virginia and West Virginia. And when I had sailed, the year the shuttle blew up, I don't remember that, 86. And so I knew that I was going to, when I sailed from Washington, D.C. to Florida, I knew that Florida was going to be my new base for a while. So I took that divination set and threw it into the sea and just released it. Now, people, for real evolution, you have to be okay with release. Releasing the old stuff, developing something new, and grow with it. And then I started picking up these flat stones that I found on Fort Lauderdale and Miami Beach. And then I'd look at them, and sometimes I'd do the same symbols that I had on the old set, and sometimes I'd do new ones because I'm in a new topography, a new climate, you know, just a new cultural part of the United States. And so, and I still have that set with me now. You know, I think I have like 72 stones. And what was really interesting too, from January 2015 to February 2020, I was traveling in Eastern and Western Europe a lot. And I had a lot of people make stones for my set and give me stones that they had been carrying for as much as 20 years with a story behind it. And one 7-year-old girl gave me a stone after I had worked with her mom for internal bleeding and stuff. And she gave me this beautiful definition from it. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know. I took it, and it was interesting. The first time that stone popped up in a reading, I told the guy, who looked at me like I was crazy. But the series of events that came out, and I'll put this in like true shamanic stories later on, and it just read out perfectly. I couldn't have think of another stone that I'd had except for that one that would have fit that man in that particular reading. So in doing that, so when people go to buy their rune set or their, you know, tarot cards, they're actually using somebody else's interpretation of life to do that reading. Now, I've owned a couple tarot sets, you know, and when I do personal appointments, some people want me to use the commercial one. And I'm like, well, I have these two. The Voyager was one, and one Goddess set. Girls like that one, you know. Or I can use my set. I leave it up to the person. A lot of times when I'm using the commercial set, a lot of people will ask me, you know, to also do a reading with my set, and then they like that a lot better, and I'm going to explain why. People, when you do your own divination set, a couple things happen. You dig in deep into your truth. You will find out a lot about yourself. The other thing is when people are testing it, they are shocked at how accurate it is. Well, of course it's accurate. The fact is it's you. And the truth is, I'm real good at giving readings. I've been doing this a long, long time. But once you get your system developed and you have your way of laying it out, the truth is no one's going to give you a better reading than you. Because it's you out there in your tarot deck that you made, in your rune stones, or whatever system you decide to do. See, so, and I really encourage people just to explore, you know, develop your own thing. Here's the other thing. There's no way to do this wrong. There's no way to really screw this up except you overthink it. And people will just call me or write me or, you know, message me about these questions. I'm like, does it feel right to you? Yeah. Why are you asking me this? You know, why can't you trust yourself? Well, the simple answer is because society and the programming tells us not to. We're not good enough. We're not smart enough. We're not whatever. And I'm telling you, you are. You just got to get through all the barriers that got put there by society and also got put there by yourself, you know, by accepting these things and fortifying that story. So I'm asking you, if you're watching this video, if you're interested about this, ask yourself, what do you have to lose by trying this? Right? And realistically, nothing. And you have everything to gain. Now, I just brought in a piece of wood. Okay, this is about 3 by 2.5, something like that, 4 by 2.5. But you can get those index cards from like Office Depot or some stationery store. You can make them yourself. You can take a branch and you can cut it until you have like a bunch of little circles and then just burn them in there or whatever. But I'm going to ask you to go ahead and do it on paper or something bigger like this that you can work with for the next step. So let's say you start off with a word, and like say right across the top here, I'm going to do like life. Okay, and then right under life, the word life, I'm going to make something here. I'm going to make either the sun, a tree, a flower, water, whatever I want. When I think of life, what symbol do I get? And by the way, symbol, you can just make up a symbol. Okay, just like whatever it is. Make your own symbol and go, that means life to me. Okay, beautiful. Now then I want you to take it and I want you to turn it around. And I want you to give bullet points. give at least 5 or 6 bullet points, real short explanations of why that symbol, why that picture, why whatever represents life to you. Okay, so we turn back and they say, life and sun. Well, without the sun, there'd be no life. Sun gives us warmth. Sun gives us light for photosynthesis. Sun, whatever. Somebody else might do a couple ways. Water. Everything needs water to live. Water is a source of life. We all evolve from whatever like that. And so there's no wrong symbol if you're being honest about what represents life to me. And then when you turn around, you just write that out. And now the important thing about the writing things out, it gets your mind off of page 1. Because your page 1 in your mind is always these feedback loops of constant, confirmations of stuff that's a lot of it's just not true. Okay? So you do that, and I tell people, do 50 of them. I think you get packs of 100. If you want to do more, okay, fine. You might get one thing that becomes a tree, and then you might get another, say you like love, and you want to put a tree as well. And you're like, well, maybe I should put a tree. Well, maybe that tree, maybe look at it a little differently. One's an oak tree, one's a pine tree, whatever. Depending on your passions of life, you're going to speak from and draw from. All right? So here on my set, I come from a militaristic family. My mom was in the Army, my dad was in the Air Force, and I was in the Marine Corps. And I've been a martial artist since I was a little kid. I did construction for almost 50 years. So I'll have terrain, weapons, tactics, weather systems, different people with different personalities, like the warrior, the merchant, the baby, the hostage, the prisoner. Then I have these tactics. I had the goddess stone for a while. I do have 2 goddess stones, the older goddess, the younger goddess. And that's about it. And then the ones that people gave me that were these abstract concepts. The don't party too hard stone. This the look up and dream. Look at the clouds as dreams kind of stone. Separation stone. The yes stone. It comes up when people are making these hard decisions. All these stones are given to me, and you just listen to the story, and test it out there. So I say do 50 because 20 is easy. And like I said, and I'll probably keep saying it, the only way to screw this up is you think about it too much. You could have a bunch of cards, and you could just say, well, I can't do this life and then a picture thing. That's okay. Do life and then just put it down, do another one. I suggest if you do one thing, then do the antonym. You do life, do death. You do peace, you do chaos. You do whatever, and just go with it. Do it your way. Your way, okay? Get that your way. I can't stress this enough. And then do this 50. You could do 75. You could do 100. You could do it the other way around. You could turn around and just make a bunch of symbols, a bunch of pictures or whatever, put it away, come back with a couple of days later and go, that picture there, that's life. That picture there is this. And that's your way of doing it. And then you put your bullet points of why it means that to you on the other side, the back side. So once you've got these things all made up, then what you're going to do is try yourself a reading. All right, so you shuffle your deck if you got your deck. And like I said, start off with the card. You can transfer them to anything else later, but at least you'll be able to look on the back and say, oh, this is why that means that. Okay? Because sometimes you can get inspiration and make the picture and then go, why did I do that? But on the back, there you go. So then you start off with something like in the morning, like, what's my thought for the day? What should I be thinking about? What should I watch for? What's my message? And let's say you get something, you pull the card and you look at it and you're like, whoa, fire. Okay, and you see fire, and then all of a sudden, the big flames or burning house or whatever you put on there, and you're like, okay. So you get ready to go to work or go out for the day, and you check the stove, you check all your outlets, you blow out all the candles and everything, and you're like, okay, I'm safe. You come back home in the evening, and you're thinking about your cards, you're like, okay, I didn't see anything burn. I didn't even see a candle. I didn't smell smoke or nothing. That was just kind of weird. That was like a total wrong. But then you start thinking about the day. But let's say at a bus stop or at a coffee shop, you saw the most violent argument between these people just blowing up, going at each other. And then you walked by a park and you kept seeing these different couples just embraced in hot passion and kissing and whatever, And you think about that heat of the argument, that heat of passion, the fire of passion, like, okay, we can go for that. And I'm not like, I don't mean like be desperate, like trying to find something, but if you did find something, like, oh, okay, I can see that. So it's a different aspect of fire that you weren't thinking. So now you might make another card, the fire of passion, the fire of anger, the fire, whatever, just, or emotional fire. So now we have the physical fire, and then we have the emotional fire. You see how it can be, it can separate like that. And that works for you in your way of doing this. When people ask me to give classes on this, I have to do this totally vague description that we can do in a workshop, and I make everybody do the same thing, and then they'll say, okay, here, now we're going to do this exercise for a reading. And then I'd say, please throw all this away and start over when you get home and do your own thing. So you got to experiment with it. You might find out you pulled the fire card, and then down the road, there was a big fire in your neighborhood. Like, oh, okay. And maybe nothing happened at all that you figure out. That doesn't mean it was total wrong. That means you just got to fine tune what you're looking at from now on. All right. And the more you do this and you get the confirmation right, a lot of the doubt goes away because you did it. Not only did you do it, you created the system that you did it on. You got to admit, that's a pretty much of a confident booster, isn't it? So anyway, like I said, start off on your set. Leave comments. You can write me at shamaniclodge@gmail.com. You know, give me some bullet points, because I try to answer everybody's email, but sometimes I get a lot during the day. You know, and just go for it. You know, you don't have to tell anybody, but just, and really, if you want to share something, share how you did it differently. You know, oh, and you should put your, let me get mine for you. Here we go. I made mine a little house bag. This used to be a suitcase about 30, almost 40 years ago. And so mine are on these flat rocks. Okay, and it works all over the beach. And so that's it. You know, some of them were given, like I said, given to me. And so I like stones. So that's what I did that. And my very, very first set was like stones with painted colors and so on. Here's one that was given to me. The shit stone is a little smiley face on there, you know, and sometimes the shit comes up. So a girl that was one of my partners in some magic, this one was also given to me. It's balanced through structured order. I have different balance stones in there. The net, okay, it just looks like a fishing net or a fencing, and that's when people feel trapped. And I mean, when people are like in relationships or jobs or whatever, they pull the net, it's like, oh, here. The thing about the net is, the more you fight it, the more you get tangled up. And so what you need to do is stay still for a moment and look, try to find the end of the net, the perimeter. Like if it's a big casting net for fishing that you throw out, try to find the end of it, pull it to you, pull it over your head, and walk away. So it's like staying calm, look at the end of what's captivating you, getting you imprisoned, so to speak, finding that and getting out the shortest way possible. I'll go ahead. Here, this is a rock that has two little indentations on it. All right, that's the relationship stone. That's one person and the next one. And I used to call it the mother-daughter stone, but then it evolved over the years into relationship stone. This picture is kind of faded. A shaman in Hungary gave me this one. I did swim sweat lodges with him. He's a great man. Fehér holo. Fehér means white in Hungarian. Holo means raven. You know, real cool guy. And so that's the divine message stone for me. You know, here's the other thing I did. So I noticed I could reach into these stones and pick them out and know what they were. All right, and then I realized, well, if I'm picking the stone out and I'm putting it down and I know what it is, I could be interfering in the reading. And from when I realized that, I no longer take the stones out and put them down for the person, unless I'm doing like an online reading, you know. But if I'm in front of the person, I let them hold the bag at their lap and they pick out the stones, and I tell them where to put them in the configuration for the reading. And that way I don't influence it at all, because that's really, really important to me. I don't want to influence it. I mean, we want to tell people all the nice things, but sometimes you just can't, you know. This is a military tactic called a vertical envelopment. It's one of the most difficult tactics. 2 flanking operations, and then you just drop down on top of them. Very, very few people can get out of this, but very, very few people can pull it off. It's kind of like a special forces kind of move. So if you say, well, how can I make this project work? And they pull that stone out. It's like, man, you better have your business plan in order. You better have your timing totally in order, and you better have your team. I mean, the people that you can absolutely trust impeccably. Otherwise, I don't see your project working, If they say, how's my project going to work? And they pull the net, you need to take some time and really look around, like what could really stop it in mid-progress? What could surprise you? Think of all your worst options and all your backup plans and so on. So you have to really explore the possibilities of the stones. This is an egg. I'm going to do my new project. What do I think? Well, if you nurture it well enough, if you have a good plan, it'll probably take off. Like every egg, you have to just keep it warm, keep it safe and everything, and let it grow. One more. Boomerang. When I lived in Australia as a kid, Aboriginal shaman showed us me and my brother, how to make and throw boomerangs. There are different types, some for hunting, some for warfare, some for sport and whatever. And people are like, oh, is that like karma? I don't really believe in karma as that sense of most people do. I look at cause and effect. So this is my cause and effect stone. So that's just a few that I have. And like I said, so other people can start off using some of these things that I do, and then at the same time they'll go and do something completely different depending on their passions or their life history and so on. I will tell you this too. You know who does this the best? Children. They do all of these shamanic things the very, very best because they're not polluted with all the programming. You tell them what to do and you tell them there's no wrong way to do it, and man, you see the most fantastic results. And they can give you the most revealing readings. I had one young lady in front of a workshop. Her mother said, oh yeah, give him a reading, yeah. Oh, she told me all about bad relationships, all kinds of personal issues. That's enough, miss, thank you very much, But it's great. You get to see a lot. And here's the other thing. If you decide to do this for people, I asked that you do your readings for you 2 or 3 times a day for a couple years before you do readings on anybody else other than just party amusement. And the reason is, when people come to me for a reading, they're going to open up and they're going to hang on to my words, and I can alter their destiny, their course of life. So it's like learning a new language. This is when you're doing your divination set, you're learning a different type of a dialect. You're learning your spiritual dialect, your shamanic language, whatever you want to call it. All right, and it's that abstract thought. Now think about this. If you're getting ready to go to court, for either a big business deal or whatever, where the decision by the jury or the judge can have some devastating or very beneficial effect, very extreme conditions of one way or the other. And you're going to go in there in a language that you just learned, or you just bought your little how to speak such and such. You're not qualified to go into that kind of an environment and be a translator for that kind of a situation. And the same thing with the readings. So do as many variables of just do this for fun kind of reading, before you actually get ready to do it seriously, because you're changing somebody's life. They came to you in this open trust, and it just takes, we learn in flight school, 1 degree over 1 mile is 90 feet, 30 meters of where you were supposed to be. And just a slip of the tongue and the sentences, or you want to say the right thing instead of saying what you should be saying, and so what you see right there before you, you want to be nice to the person, and they go out and do something different than what they would have done if you would have just been a just totally neutral journalist when you're given that reading. And sometimes you can get some surprising results. I got woman reached across the table and slapped me because I told her something I clearly saw. And when I saw her a couple weeks later, it was nothing but hugs, kisses, and apologies, because I knew it was happening and I didn't want anybody else to know, and so on and so on. I'm like, yeah, and that can happen too. So you try it, people. You know, leave comments, you know, on the video of what you did, how it worked for you, and so on. Subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. And if you got any other questions about this, you know, let me know. I'll do another video on how I lay them out and how I explain that, but I have to make a lot of pieces to be able to do that, you know, so I can actually, I don't know how I'm going to set up the camera and do this, you know. Oh, I'll draw it. That's what I'll do, you know. So yeah, excuse my studio. I'm kind of a techno star, but I'm doing the best I can with it. All right, appreciate all the support, and I'll catch you guys later.